All right, so today we're going to deep dive into this story about Canada considering tariffs on U.S. goods.
Oh, yeah. This is a wild one.
It is, and especially Tesla's as like a retaliatory move against Trump's proposed tariffs.
Yeah.
What I find really interesting is this whole personal element.
Uh-huh.
It's not just economic policy.
Right.
It's about like individuals and their allegiances.
Yeah.
And, for you especially, like if you're in Canada thinking about going electric,
Yeah.
this has like a big impact on the EV market.
It does. It
Yeah.
does. I think what's really interesting is Chrystia Freeland's approach.
Yeah.
Instead of the usual back and forth of targeting like industries, she's saying, we should make Trump supporters pay a price, even naming Tesla specifically.
Yeah.
So this could signal a shift in how trade wars are fought,
Okay.
moving beyond like economic pragmatism to something much more targeted and,
Yeah.
dare I say, personal.
Yeah, it adds a whole nother layer of complexity.
It does.
And, considering Freeland's background as former finance minister and current contender to lead the Liberal Party,
Right.
you can't help but wonder if there are, like, political motivations
Yeah, for sure.
at play here as well. But how exactly would this impact Tesla?
Well, most Teslas sold in Canada are actually made in the U.S. and China.
Oh, really?
So slapping a tariff on those could really increase the price tag
Okay.
for Canadian buyers.
Okay, so let's talk about the elephant in the room.
Right.
Elon Musk.
Yeah.
He's been a vocal supporter of Trump, both financially during his campaigns and operationally in his current role, leading efforts to like downsize the U.S. federal government.
Yeah.
In fact, he's using tactics very similar to those he deployed during those mass layoffs at Twitter.
Exactly. And this is precisely why Tesla is caught in the crosshairs.
Yeah.
Freeland is essentially saying that supporting Trump, in this case, could have consequences that extend beyond U.S. borders. This raises the question, are we entering an era where a CEO's political stance can directly impact a company's global operations?
That's a pretty big question.
It is.
But before we dive into that, let's look at the state of the EV market in Canada.
Okay.
I know it's been growing rapidly, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
In Q3 2024 alone, almost 17% of new car sales in Canada were all electric.
Wow.
And that's compared to 8% for the entire year in the U.S.
Wow, that's a huge difference.
Yeah. And Quebec, with its strong incentives for EV buyers, is driving a lot of that growth.
Okay.
We're talking rebates, tax breaks, even discounts on charging infrastructure. They're really pushing for that electric transition.
And within that booming Canadian EV market, Tesla is king.
BR?
Their Model Y and Model 3 are the top sellers by a huge margin.
Huge.
Like 2023 alone, they sold a combined 60,000 of those two models in Canada.
Yeah.
So if prices go up because of these tariffs,
Yeah.
it could definitely shake things up.
It could be a significant blow, especially considering Tesla is already navigating a tricky situation.
Yeah.
2024 marked their first full year of declining global sales.
Right. And there's been a lot of talk about customers and even owners moving away from the brand, specifically because of Musk's political activities and the controversy surrounding him. So it seems like his personal choices are starting to have a real impact on Tesla's bottom line.
Yeah. Now, let's factor in the catalyst for all of this.
Okay.
Trump's proposed tariffs. He's planning to impose a 25% tariff on imports from Canada,
Wow.
China, and Mexico.
Okay.
And it all kicks off this weekend.
Oh, wow. Talk about adding fuel to the fire.
Yeah.
And during Tesla's recent earnings call, even their CFO, Vaibhav Taneja, acknowledged the uncertainty surrounding these tariffs. He highlighted how much Tesla still relies on global parts, despite their efforts to localize supply chains, and said that the tariffs will have an impact on our business and profitability.
So this isn't just a hypothetical situation anymore.
Okay.
The potential for real economic and political consequences is very much on the table.
So we've got Canada potentially retaliating against Trump's tariffs by targeting Tesla. And Tesla itself is already facing challenges.
Yeah.
But what does this all mean for the bigger picture of global trade?
That's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
If other countries start taking a page from Freeland's playbook and personalize trade disputes based on their leaders' political leanings, it could have profound implications.
Wait, you're saying this could set like a dangerous precedent?
Potentially.
That instead of focusing on economic factors, countries might start picking winners and losers based on who their leaders like or dislike.
Exactly. Imagine a world where a company's success hinges not just on its products and services,
Yeah.
but also on its CEO's political stance.
Wow, that's a scary thought.
It is.
We're talking about mixing business and politics on like a global scale.
Precisely. And this has the potential to create a whole new level of risk for businesses operating internationally, especially those with leaders who are vocal about their political views.
Yeah.
It adds a layer of unpredictability to global trade that we haven't seen before.
So what you're saying is this Tesla tariff situation could be just the tip of the iceberg.
It's a possibility, and if this trend continues, it could fundamentally reshape the global trade landscape.
Wow.
As we know it.
Okay, so we've talked about the political maneuvering behind these potential tariffs and the impact on Tesla and the EV market. But what about the average consumer?
Yeah.
How could this affect someone like me?
Well, imagine this. You're in the market for a new phone.
Okay.
But the brand you love gets hit with tariffs because their CEO supports a political figure that your country's government opposes. Suddenly that phone becomes more expensive, maybe even out of reach.
Yeah.
Your purchasing decisions are now being influenced by political events happening on the other side of the world.
So I could end up paying more for a product, not because of its quality or features, but because of a CEO's political views.
It's a potential consequence of this new approach to trade disputes.
Wow.
And it's not just about price increases.
Okay.
Certain products could become completely unavailable in your country because of these politically motivated trade barriers.
This is starting to sound like a dystopian novel.
A little bit, right.
But is this really the new reality we have to live with?
It's hard to say for sure, but this situation has definitely exposed the increasing interconnectedness of our world. Political events, business decisions, and consumer choices are all becoming more intertwined than ever before.
So it's not just about Teslas and tariffs anymore.
Right.
This could be a wake-up call for all of us to start paying closer attention to how global events can have like a direct impact on our daily lives.
Absolutely. It's a complex landscape, and it's only going to get more complex as this trend of personalized trade disputes continues to unfold.
All right, let's bring it back to Tesla for a second.
Okay.
They're already facing challenges with declining sales, customers turning away from the brand because of Musk's actions.
Right.
Now, if we add potential tariffs to the equation, it's not a good look, is it?
It certainly paints a challenging picture.
Yeah.
And it's not just Tesla. Other companies with outspoken CEOs could find themselves in similar situations as this trend continues.
So what are the key indicators we should be watching for? How can we tell if this is going to have a real impact on the global market?
Well, firstly, we need to keep a close eye on whether Canada actually goes through with these tariffs.
Right.
That would send a strong signal.
Okay.
Secondly, we need to watch how other countries react. If they adopt similar strategies, it could trigger a domino effect, reshaping global trade dynamics as we know them.
It's like a chain reaction. One country makes a move, and others follow suit, potentially leading to a whole new set of rules for international trade.
Exactly. And it's not just about governments.
Okay.
Keep an eye on consumer behavior, too.
Right.
Will buyers start boycotting companies? Based on their leaders' political affiliations? That's a wild card that could really shake things up.
Okay, all these potential scenarios are giving me a headache.
Yeah.
But seriously, this deep dive has been eye-opening.
It has.
I feel like I need to rethink my whole approach to buying decisions.
Yeah.
You know?
The main takeaway is that the lines between politics, business, and personal choices are becoming increasingly blurred. It's a complex and constantly evolving landscape.
So what does this all mean for our listeners? What's the one thing they should be thinking about as they process all this information?
Here's something to ponder. Imagine a future where you're not just choosing between brands, but between ideologies when you make a purchase.
Whoa.
How would that change your buying habits?
Yeah.
Would you be willing to pay more for a product from a company that aligns with your political views?
Whoa, that's deep.
It is.
It's like, am I supporting a cause or a political party just by buying a cup of coffee?
It's a thought-provoking question and one we might all need to grapple with as this trend continues to unfold.
All right, we've unpacked a lot.
We have.
From the political motivations behind these potential tariffs to the impact on Tesla and the potential for this to set a new precedent for global trade. But But there's one piece of the puzzle we haven't really explored.
Okay.
The potential benefits.
Yeah.
Is there a silver lining to all this?
Well, it's not so much a direct benefit as it is a potential outcome that could be seen as positive.
Okay.
Depending on your perspective.
All right, I'm all ears. Tell me more.
Let's take Tesla as an example.
Okay.
We've discussed how these tariffs could hurt their sales in Canada.
Yeah.
But what if it forces them to diversify their manufacturing operations?
You mean like setting up factories in other countries?
Yeah.
To avoid the tariffs altogether?
Exactly. It might be expensive in the short term.
Okay.
But in the long run, it could make Tesla's supply chain more resilient and less vulnerable to these kinds of political shocks.
That's a good point. We always talk about the need for companies to be more adaptable and flexible. And this might be the push they need to make those changes.
It's a possibility this situation could actually incentivize companies to become more innovative and globally competitive.
So instead of punishing companies, this could force them to evolve and find new ways to thrive.
It's a possibility. And it could even lead to job creation in other countries.
Yeah.
As companies like Tesla expand their operations.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this could have some positive ripple effects. But it's still a pretty risky gamble, right?
Of course.
There's no guarantee things will play out this way.
Absolutely. There's no certainty here.
Right.
But it's important to consider all potential outcomes, both good and bad, as we navigate this new era of global trade.
It's funny how we started this deep dive talking about Teslas and tariffs.
Yeah.
And now we're discussing the future of global trade and the complex interplay between politics, business, and consumer choices.
It's all connected, and it's a powerful reminder that seemingly isolated events can have far-reaching and often unforeseen consequences.
So where do we go from here?
Right.
What should our listeners be thinking about as they process all this information?
I think the most important thing is to stay informed.
Okay.
Pay attention to how the situation develops, how other countries react, and how businesses adapt.
Right.
Don't be afraid to ask questions and challenge assumptions.
You're right. We can't just sit back and watch things happen.
Yeah.
We need to engage in these conversations and make our voices heard.
Absolutely. And remember, every choice we make, from the products we buy to the leaders we support, has the potential to shape the world around us.
Okay, I'm officially mind blown. This deep dive has been a wild ride.
It has been quite the journey, hasn't it?
It has. And while I've learned a ton, I have to admit, I'm still a bit confused about what all this means for me personally.
Well, that's where things get really interesting. Think about the last time you bought a smartphone.
Like, did I consider the CEO's political views? Not really.
But now imagine a world where that becomes a significant factor in your purchasing decisions.
That's kind of unsettling, to be honest.
Yeah.
What if I really love a certain brand's product, but disagree with their CEO's stance on something?
It really highlights that intersection of personal values, consumer choices, and international trade.
Yeah.
It's a conversation we need to be having.
So going back to Tesla, they're already dealing with declining sales and customer pushback due to Musk's actions.
Right.
Now add these potential tariffs to the mix. It seems like a perfect storm brewing, doesn't it?
It's a challenging situation for sure. And remember, this doesn't just apply to Tesla.
Right.
Any company with a leader who takes a strong public stance could potentially face similar consequences.
So what should we be watching for? What are the signs that this trend is truly gaining momentum?
Well, first and foremost, will Canada follow through with these tariffs?
Right.
That's a critical signal.
Okay.
If they do, it could embolden other countries to adopt similar tactics. And if that happens, we could see a dramatic shift in global trade dynamics.
It's almost like a domino effect.
Yeah.
With each country's actions influencing the next.
Exactly. But it goes beyond just government actions.
Okay.
We need to watch consumer behavior as well.
Right.
Will buyers start factoring a CEO's political views into their purchasing decisions?
Yeah.
That's a wild card that could have a massive impact.
Okay, so we've talked about the potential downsides.
Right.
But is there a flip side to this coin? Could there be any unintended positive consequences?
It's not so much a benefit as it is a potential outcome.
Okay.
That could be viewed favorably depending on your perspective.
All right. I'm intrigued. Lay it on me.
Let's circle back to Tesla.
Okay.
We've discussed how these tariffs could potentially hurt their sales in Canada.
Uh-huh.
But what if this situation actually pushes them to diversify their manufacturing operations.
You mean setting up production facilities in other countries to avoid the tariffs altogether?
Precisely. While it might be a costly endeavor in the short term,
Okay.
it could lead to a more robust and resilient supply chain in the long run, one that's less susceptible to political swings and trade wars.
That's actually a fascinating point.
Yeah.
We're always hearing about the need for companies to be more agile and adaptable.
Right.
And this situation might be the catalyst
It could be.
for them to finally make those changes.
It could be a forcing mechanism for innovation and strategic adaptation.
So instead of simply punishing companies, this situation might force them to become more competitive on a global scale.
It's a possibility. And this shift towards localized manufacturing could even lead to job creation in other countries as companies expand their operations.
Okay, now I'm seeing how this could have some positive ripple effects.
Yeah.
It's almost like a silver lining to what initially seemed like a very dark cloud.
Right.
But let's be realistic, it's still a gamble, right?
Of course.
There's no guarantee that things will play out this way.
Absolutely. There are no guarantees in this complex global landscape.
Right.
But it's important to consider all the potential outcomes, both good and bad, as we try to make sense of this new era of global trade.
You know, it's remarkable how we started this deep dive talking about Teslas and tariffs, and now we're discussing the future of global trade and the intricate relationship between politics, business, and consumer choices.
It's all interconnected. And it reinforces the idea that even seemingly isolated events can have far-reaching and often unexpected consequences.
So where do we go from here? What should our listeners be considering as they absorb all this information?
I think the most important takeaway is the need to stay informed.
Okay.
Keep an eye on how this situation evolves, how other countries respond, and how businesses adapt. Don't just passively accept information.
Okay.
Ask questions and challenge assumptions.
You're right. We can't just sit back and let events unfold around us.
Yeah.
We need to be active participants in these conversations
Right.
and make our voices heard.
Absolutely. And remember, every choice we make, from the products we buy to the leaders we support, has the power to shape the world around us.
Okay, this deep dive has been a whirlwind of information.
Yeah.
It's given me a lot to think about.
And that's really the point, isn't it?
Yeah.
To spark thoughtful reflection and informed engagement.
It certainly has. But I have to confess, I'm still a little unsure about how this translates to my everyday life. What does this all mean for me, the consumer?
That's where things get truly interesting.
You've got me on the edge of my seat. Like, tell me, what does this mean for me?
It means we might be entering an age where,
Okay.
our buying decisions aren't just about price, quality, or convenience. We might have to consider the political ideologies those purchases support.
So every time I buy something, I'm like essentially casting a vote.
Yeah.
That's a lot of pressure.
It is. But it also puts a lot of power in the hands of the consumer. Imagine if consumers actively choose to support companies that align with their values or boycott those that don't. That could send a powerful message to businesses, even more so than government regulations.
Wow. So in a way, this could be like a catalyst for positive change.
It's possible.
Consumers become more conscious of their choices.
Right.
Businesses are held accountable for their actions and the stances of their leaders.
It's a potential outcome, and one that emphasizes the interconnectedness of everything politics. Business, personal values, they're all intertwined.
This has been a truly mind-blowing deep dive. We started with Canada, potentially targeting Teslas because of Elon Musk's support for Trump, and ended up exploring a future where every purchase is a political statement.
And that's the beauty of these deep dives. We start with a specific event and end up uncovering so much more. It's about connecting the dots, understanding the broader context, and seeing the ripple effects.
You're right, and I think that's a perfect note to end on. This isn't just about tariffs and Teslas. It's about recognizing the power of our choices and the impact they have on the world around us. So next time you're about to buy something, ask yourself, what am I really supporting?
Exactly.
What message am I sending?
Food for thought indeed.
It is.
And perhaps the start of a more conscious and engaged approach to how we navigate this increasingly complex world.